Thank you. I'm sure you don't recognize this beautiful blonde to my left, but Stevie Nicks, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the purpose of this is for you guys. You're going to get to ask Stevie some questions. Let me just kind of get you warmed up by first saying how much I enjoyed this film. I just thought it was fantastic, and congratulations on it.
Thank you. Thank you. That means everything to me.
There's a lot of humor in this movie. But the best part for me is you actually get to be inside the creative process. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I suggested to Dave that we actually use my house, because it costs to go into a real studio, like a nice studio, $2,500 a day, and boy, that adds up. And so I said, you know, like I said in the movie, I have a house. Let's use the house. And so I think he has a studio in downtown Hollywood, and I'm like, I don't want to make that drive. Yeah. So I said, so really you should come and see my house. So he comes and sees the house, and he's walking in, and he's like, oh yeah, we can definitely make the record here. And so that's the way it started, you know. It was like, then it was instant, and we instantly put in a board and set up the living room and moved a few things out and made the room right here like the lounge, you know, and then we had dinners every single night. We broke for dinner for an hour and a half, and I looked at it as like it was in the 20s when there was in France, you know, in Paris, where they would meet, where all the artists and the Coco Chanel and Man Ray and the photographers and all the ballerinas and Nureyev and all these people would meet, and then they would discuss the world, and they would discuss art and people and just gossip and have these like amazing dinner parties. And that's what we did. We had my goddaughter, whose name is Kellyanne, and who has been living with me off and on since she was like 14. She's 38 now. She lives in the cottage. But Kellyanne, you see her. She's the one who walks in, and she's all like in the colored dress. She looks like Tiger Lily. And she cooked. She's the chef, and she cooked every night, 5 days a week, for 10 to 12 people. And we had the best time, because at 7:30 we would break, and we would go and we would sit at the big table, and we would eat dinner, and we would discuss what we had done and how the songs were coming out and what we wanted to do tomorrow. And then we would go back and work for an hour, and David have a martini. And because he has his own, he brings his own martini thing with him everywhere he goes. It has to be his perfect special martini. And so every day, I get up, and I don't get up early, but I get up a lot earlier than normal. And I'd get up and I'd drink coffee for 2 hours. So he'd come at 3. So I'd wake up at 8 or 9, and I'd drink coffee for 2 hours. And then I would get up and I would do my vocal lesson that I have to do and be finished with 3 hours before I'm going to sing, because that's what I do. And so I would multitask, and I'd get in my jacuzzi for a half an hour, do the vocal lesson in the jacuzzi. So I'm 2 birds with 1 stone. And it would be like 20 to 2. And I know that he's going to be there, any minute. And so I would just be like, I just can't wait for him to get here. And I don't think I've ever in my life experienced that with somebody that I wasn't totally in love with, and planning on having like a life with and children with. And that's not what Dave and I are. Dave and I are just really super good friends, because we met in 1981, 82. So we've been friends for a long time. Right. And he and I, you see it in the show, we have a very strong bond because of Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart and Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. Very similar, he said 5 years, you live together, you break up, you form a band, the band gets famous, and that's what happened to Fleetwood Mac and to the Eurythmics. So because we weren't in a relationship, we could just have the best time. Sometimes being in a relationship just really messes up having the best time. So we just had a ball every single day, and when he'd leave, I'd be sorry. And the next morning, the first thing I'd wake up, I would be like, wow, in a couple hours he's going to come through the door. And we're going to start our magical thing that we're doing. And it was Alice in Wonderland. And I was Alice, and he built Wonderland at my house, in my house, and a sandbox, a magical sandbox for me to totally play in.
It's a great way to put it. It's a great way to put it. Well, it sounds like a bunch of damn hippies in a commune. But somehow they got it together. Let me just read this, and we're going to take questions from the audience. But there's this passage right at the beginning. You're on the telephone, I think, to Dave. With pneumonia.
The day before the record came out.
And you're seeing a shot of the house. It's the first time we see the house. And there's this line that I just thought was so great. You said, "We wanted to make a record that would make people remember why we loved it so." And by the end of the film, I think that you kept that promise. By the end of the film. So I just wanted to bring that up because it is all about the music.
I wanted to make a film that would make everybody, young and old, understand when we always use the sentence "back in the day," because it really was so marvelous back in the day. And we did make a couple of records in houses back in the. We made Belladonna in Bill Cosby's house back in the day. We rented it for a year, and we lived there for a year. And even though we didn't make the whole record there, but we rehearsed for 4 months, me and the girls in Benmont there, and Jimmy was working on Tom Petty's record. And then when we were done rehearsing, we went into the studio, but we stayed living at Bill Cosby's house. And so Bill's house really became a little bit like what we did with Dave. It was a place where the whole of Belladonna was really put together. And it was so much fun. And that is really what I wanted to recreate. And you know, whenever you start these things, you never know if they're really going to go right. But it did go right. And I wasn't thrilled about being filmed every day, I have to tell you. Because that really wasn't in the equation when we started. But Dave films everything. He films everything. And so you're like, when he said, darling, I think we should film this. And I'm like, oh, that means I'm going to have to sort of dress up a little bit. and no bunny slippers. Happy Easter. And really, you really have to do your hair. And I mean, you have to make much more of an effort, if you're going to be filmed every day, because you're going to be really sorry at the end of that time when you look like crap every single day. So, it was a lot more of a commitment. But I realized instantly that after 2 days, that we wanted to leave something sacred behind. And we wanted to leave this before all the little rock stars coming up after us. We wanted them to be able to see how we did it.
And I didn't get the impression through the film that you were all that uncomfortable or even conscious of the camera after a while. It just seems like it just had blended into the background, and we got to see the real creative process, which I think is very unusual because it's such a personal thing. To go out and say, hey, I got this idea for a lyric. You're putting yourself out there because the person could look at you and go, that sucks.
Right.
And you don't want to hear that.
Right.
When it's something that's very personal. Okay, let's take some questions from the, yes, this lady right here.
Stevie, my name is Sarah, and I'm here with my dad. And I just wanted to say something real quick before you ask that question.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know that you have brought us together. Him and I travel everywhere to go see you and Fleetwood Mac. We'll actually be at Broken Night in Columbus.
We leave tomorrow at noon.
So I just wanted to say, I was watching you on Masterclass the other night, and something that you said about your mom passing and how you didn't get a chance to, ask her some of the questions that you guys got to ask her. I just wanted to say I thought that was very important because him and I spent so much time together. This is our thing that we do together, and we've gotten to know each other so much better. And our daughter and father.
Played those crazy Fleetwood Mac records when she was little. But this brings up a great from 1979 Tusk, Jim Ladd, you interview each Fleetwood Mac member, and I still have it on cassette. I remember the night you Stevie. So awesome. But my question for you, Stevie, is having followed you for 35 years, and seeing how you look sitting in that chair, gorgeous, radiant. Tell us maybe 2 of your secrets.
It's undeniable, she's still hot. Isn't she? I mean, come on. The woman is hot.
I stopped laying in the sun at 30, and I don't ever, ever, ever go in the sun. But I'm always going on vacations to, like, places where there's sun and aqua water, and then people say to me, why do you do that? Why don't you just go to the snow or something? Because you never go out in the sun. But it's, it's like, it makes all the difference. So that's my biggest beauty secret is really you have to stay out of the sun, and most people don't want to do that. But when you're 65, you'll be sorry.
That was really nice what you said. Give him a hand, please. Thank you for making our first question a good one. That was very good. Okay, do you have a question for Stevie? Go ahead.
Of course you can. But
Come on up. Thank you so much.
Oh, your little t-shirt. Would you like to tell us what your name is in the mic?
Dakota.
Love it. Love it. It's so nice to meet you, sweetheart. Do you love music? Well, you keep listening because music keeps you young and happy. Okay?
Give Dakota a big hand. I love Stevie Hicks. Cool. Yes. What's your name?
My name's Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hi. I was just wondering, on the video submissions from the fans, will we see any others you might have liked in the DVD release of this?
Very possible. There was many fantastic things that came in. And you know what, though, I mean, really, Dave's team edited it from January to December, edited that down to 3 hours, and then his editor and my assistant and I edited it from 3 hours to 1:40. And I mean, it was just horrific to do. It was so hard. So we would have loved to have just put, many, many more of those videos of people that sent in and did 2-minute things. But we couldn't, it was so the two that we got in were the only ones that would fit. But yes, absolutely. And we're gonna edit them and put them all together because they're all great. It's just that those two were the ones that seemed to fit, what we were saying, because so much had to come out.
That is kind of the hard part of doing this is, I know I got it. Sorry.
Dakota's picture.
Yeah, I'll be hearing about this for the next year and a half. I know. Hold it so I don't want to drop it. Editing is hard because the audience will never know what was left out, but you're going to carry that around for your whole life. All right, who else got a question? Yes, right, this lady right here.
Hi, my name's Jamie, and I just wanted to ask, I read recently that you enjoyed the Game of Thrones series.
Ah.
What character on that series, as far as right now goes,
Can
you
you see?
identify with the most?
Daenerys, absolutely. And sometimes Dracarys, her little dragon. Oh yeah, the one that set the guy on fire.
They all
I
moved away
love
from
it,
her.
love it. I'm gonna write music for it. I mean, they'll never use it, but I love it so much that I'm ready to.
You started writing some poetry?
I've written a bunch of poetry about all the different characters. Thank you. Me too.
Yes, over here. This lady over here. Stand up and tell us your name. You'll be next.
My name's Genesis. I've been listening to you for like a whole year now. Every single day. And I was just kind of wondering if I could actually get your autograph.
Absolutely. Can we do that at the end of this? We'll do it. Yes.
And to kind of move this along, because we want to give as many people a chance to ask Stevie a question. When I call on you, just kind of have your question ready and